All right, and we are back with the 33rd episode of the SparkCast, I
Do you think
believe.
that's actually close to it?
Oh,
Is
I,
it the
I went
33rd?
back and counted.
No way, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I counted the weeks up. And last week was the first time we uploaded you to YouTube, and we had Zach on. And then this is the first week that you
What?
will be uploaded onto YouTube's.
By the way,
So,
it's actually so easy to upload on YouTube just with the export button.
well, the problem is I don't have access to that button.
Oh, yeah, that would make it harder.
So what I have to do is I have to record it locally and then upload it from there.
Hmm.
But so Zach was here on last week, and he is the other community manager, and this is and/or Brian. So
Yep.
Brian, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and what you do around this place?
Yep, I'm Brian. Zach and I are kind of the co-community managers. We manage all Spark things, which means we have lots of fun because the community does our job for us. I'm joking, but
No, no, no.
it's
You're serious.
yes, I'm deadly serious. But yeah, I mean, we basically uh, do whatever we need to make the community um, a nice, vibrant, open place and communicate stuff with you guys about what we're doing.
Speaking of which, what are you guys doing?
Oh, wouldn't you like to know?
So I noticed there isn't a state of Spark this week. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, I'm gonna probably post that tomorrow because we will be making a few announcements tomorrow. We're gonna have basically over the next month, we're gonna have quite a few announcements. Some basically that hit on kind of every one of our users of like what they've been um, what they'll be interested in. So some of those we'll have some announcements tomorrow. We'll have others in the next coming weeks, but just lots of announcements. So it's sort of like right now, the past few weeks I'd say are kind of the calm before the storm, because it's going to become a nice stormy place soon.
All right. So there had been some chat hints going on. So what were the chat hints, and who is behind them?
Yeah, so we've been hanging, a bunch of us devs have been spending more time hanging out in .org chat just because we like to troll you guys and give you very vague references that don't really even mean much, even if you knew what the real thing was that we were hinting. So we've been having lots of fun with that. Like one of us hinting last week that we'll be announcing, I think it was like a smile, a nod, and a surprise.
The motion pack, right?
No,
Oh,
no, not the emotion pack. No, that's like even more vague than anything, any other vague thing that we've said before. So
okay.
there's that.
And I mean, one of the things it was hinted at was the recon mission, which was also one of the tags which was leaked into the game by mistake
By mistake.
or on
Um,
purpose, one of the two.
yeah. Well, we actually. So funny thing is, we know that we put those tags in. I guess I should say we don't know, so that there's that it's like a you see think it's a fun mistake, but it's actually we have to put these tags in a few updates before the actual content goes out. So, but it's usually only a few updates. So once the tag has been put in, you can assume that you might see it soon. Some of the times. There will be some cases though where we might throw in a random tag that you won't see for like a year or something like that.
Oh, that'd be
But for the
fun.
most part, yeah.
So you'll throw
So
in
so
like elves, like, and they're not gonna be here for another 2 years.
I really want to just one title update, just put in the tag lizard men, just so Moose gets like really excited, and then we just never put in lizard men,
No.
and then so then you'll ask months later, whatever happened to lizard men? I can say, oh, we just wanted to use it so that you could make your own lizard men games.
No, you see, I know where your studio is, and you don't have that much security. I was like, you're building on fire.
We have a lot of security for fires. We
Oh,
do have a lot of security for that.
yeah. Well, what Brian is alluding to is lizardmen are basically my favorite fantasy race. It's hard to make them not look cool. So I've just been saying, hey, make lizardmen. Make lizardmen. You don't have elves yet, but make lizardmen. Yeah, and it's gonna be a while before they get lizardmen. But every fantasy game I ever played that had lizardmen, like whether it be Warhammer or uh, EverQuest or even Elder Scrolls, I
Hmm.
play the Lizard Man. Uh, but yeah,
Usually they're good with diseases. They don't get them.
well, there's that, or they regen faster, or are more
Hmm.
agile, or have natural armor and don't need to actually spend points on it, that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and they just they look cool. Like you put a dinosaur skull in their head and you're done, right?
it's true.
Yeah. All right. So what was the so going back to the original topic of hints? What was the hint that was dropped today, and who did it? Can you even say
Oh,
that?
when Jesse just said a number.
Yes, he said a number.
Yeah, that's another really vague hint. Like for all of these things, when we announce them, you'll actually have to go back and say, what did this hint even? What was this referring to? So that's another thing that something is related to the number 35 that will come out. So that's specific, right?
42. You guys re-answered the question of what's the meaning of life, existence, and everything.
So ready to have your mind blown? So 42 minus 7 is 35, and 7 is usually a number associated with deities and gods. So what we're really saying with 35 is that the meaning of life is in a deity.
Or there is no
Bam.
God or something.
Yeah, exactly. Or some meaning related to whatever religious affiliation you have.
So the creation was 35.
I like that idea. I also, chat isn't loading for me for some reason, so let me know if questions are coming in. Twitch is angry at us here at Team Dakota today. It hasn't really been loading for us.
Well, that's unfortunate. It will
Hmm.
do that sometimes. Like it usually has to do with your Flash version or something.
Yeah,
Um, so the Pac-Man has a question of well, it's more of a request. He wants a pack that's just a bunch of animals in it.
the animal pack. Yeah, we've gotten that request a few times. I'll say we have lots of plan packs, and sometimes we will have a variety of different things. Sometimes we'll focus just on one specific thing, and lots of things like that. So I guess keep your eyes out. You never know. Just like, for instance, we had the expressions pack, which was just very focused on animations, emotes. Then you had coding archives, which was like focused on lots and lots of architecture. But then like you had, I think a good example is Necromancer's Ride, which had a theme, but it was like it spanned across a lot of different stuff. You had like characters and props and music and sounds and skybox and other things.
So I would like to request breaking the owl's wings off. Just like rip them off the owl. Just take the take the wings and just rip them off, and then let me use those as props and have them sense like when I'm flying and stuff like that. Make them easier to work with, I think.
That could be interesting.
Just call it the abused owl pack.
I like the name of that.
And so there are a few other requests in here as well. One is Pentaheist, and I Pentatheist pack. Oh, Pentatheist. Okay, so believing in multiple gods pack. That'd be interesting. How would you spark gods? I'm not sure how they would do that. I guess something involved with Champions Quest at some point, maybe. I don't know. Champions Quest episode 55. They attack the gods.
That's deep. That's pretty deep.
Well, I mean, it wasn't until like the fifth expansion for EverQuest where he went and killed most of the gods anyway. So, though in Vanilla you did kill the god of hate and the god of fear right off the bat. I think there may have been another plane in there that you. So the plane of air, I think. Yeah, but I don't think you actually killed that god or not. Anyway, that's talking about something from like 20 years ago that I barely remember.
Hmm.
Um, Mesk had once penguins. No. Um, there was something else. Oh, a Celtic pack or Celtic pack. Maybe they're a fan of both, like
Yeah.
Celtic, Boston Celtics. So I guess it'd be more of a Viking type thing, Nordic pack.
Yeah, I was thinking about like what general theme that would relate to. I mean, I guess it's actually kind of close to the nomadic warrior. I'd say that's like
Mm,
at least the same sort of region.
as soon as you guys get around to making your two-handed weapon animations, that's when you guys put out the broadsword and the big Viking soldier. Maybe
Maybe.
the brute warrior, basically. Make him more Nordic in appearance.
Maybe.
And then you can. Oh, here's an interesting thing. They found that were as many female Viking warriors as there were male.
Oh, interesting. There were.
They didn't care as long as you if as long as you could kill someone, you could be a Viking.
Yeah, that's cool. There was some like there were some older cultures like that that were a lot more equal than kind of the usual typical medieval cultures that you're used to, which prided one gender way above the other. So that's really cool that with Vikings it was a lot more equal. It's cool.
And also, awful and awesome used to mean the exact same thing, and they were in reference to the Viking invasions.
Hmm.
So they both meant the bad thing. And then somewhere along like the 1980s, people decided awesome was cool now. Like, you know, sometimes people will say bad, like, oh, that's so bad, as in if that's cool.
Yeah, it's actually funny if you like break it down because awful, you're like full of awe.
Aw, yeah.
Awesome, you have like some awe. So for some reason, awesome is like, well, you're not full of it.
So,
So if you have some of it, then it's pretty cool.
so fearsome is kind of cool.
Right, fearsome should be cool.
Not fearful.
Fearful should be, it is bad. So fearsome should be actually, kind of fearsome is actually can be a positive thing you can sometimes say to something like that was a fearsome performance. That means that I was scared because it was good.
Sure. Or that was a fearsome squirrel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That'd be fun to watch.
All right, let's see. Let's catch up with chat a little bit. Yep, talking about
Someone wants wolf
EverQuest.
and cat people.
Oh, so you did get the chat loaded back up.
Yeah, I loaded it up on this laptop. I guess laptops running on Wi-Fi are a lot better than desktops that are running our 1 gigabit per second internet speeds.
Hey, project. So wolf and cat people. I think that's actually a good idea. They were actually a race in ogre battle. So pretty much anything that you can give me that was from ogre battle, I'll be appreciative of.
Well, cat people are also in Elder Scrolls,
That's true. They were the druggies and drug dealers of the universe.
depending on the games, but yeah, usually they were.
Yeah.
Um,
Was
yeah,
it?
I mean, there's so many different kinds of races that you can do in Project Spark. If you do pull from fantasy, so we're toying with some ideas there. There's nothing that I will honestly say there is nothing we're looking at in kind of more recent upcoming packs that will fulfill some of that. But there are some things we're toying around with.
So you guys have to do the preliminary planning out before, which you're in the process of doing now, before you can actually go into production.
I would say we've done a lot of preliminary planning out for a lot of stuff, and some stuff we've actually like fully mapped out, but we know we're not going to touch for like a year or something like that. And some stuff we map out and we say this is really hot, we need to act on it now. So there is, I will say that we have so many really cool ideas and concept arts and things on the table for different directions to go into. So it's an ongoing work process for kind of everything, like everything that we're working on. We usually have some like really old stuff that we did a while ago that we reference in, and then kind of newer stuff that we reference in as well. But I mean, our concept art team is just phenomenal about pounding out amazing looking stuff. And every time we have weekly meetings where we look through concept art, and every time I see concept art, I think, oh my God, this is gonna be the best thing ever. So uh, a lot of that stuff we've gotten to, and a lot of stuff I can't wait till we get to.
So there is a lot left to do in Spark, right? Even as far as like content goes, not even looking at all the features that everybody wants all the things for.
Yeah, I guess it depends on. So if I mean if Project Spark is a playground for everybody and everything, then yes, there is an unlimited and it's impossible to ever hit the cap of what you can put in there. But the important thing is also we do have Spark lore, and there are certain things that do fit in the Spark universe and don't. Um,
You can't
and
see, but
so
I'm pushing that away. Like, no.
I know, but we came. I mean, we were very. I say we, even though this was before my time of coming up with all the Spark lore, but our team spent so much time coming up with the foundation of this entire Spark universe that there are going to be certain things that we'll never get to because they just don't fit in the Spark universe. I can't think of a good example right now, because probably most things that come to the top of my head are things that I couldn't say we'd never do.
Just do like what DC does and have like a bunch of different multiverses, and then have like the Sparkverse where you can have all your canon stuff, and then the kind of packs where people actually want stuff and don't care about the lore at all, and just give us stuff to play with. Say, well, the creation well made this, but they didn't fit into the universe, so they're over here.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely are things where the Sparkverse is a multiverse because we are pulling in another universe technically later on this year.
I'm sorry, what?
We are pulling in another kind of universe, universal property later
Oh,
later this year.
IP, yes. So
Yes, exactly.
Conker.
Right, right,
Yep.
right.
Okay. Yeah.
So that does, I mean, that is kind of another universe that has really interesting actual, like if you had a Venn diagram, the Sparkverse and kind of the Conkerverse, some really cool crossovers. So there's there. That's all to say that multiverse is sort of actually already an approach we're kind of working on. So yeah, sure.
I mean, if you can get Marvel to sign on, then you just have to say Infinite Gauntlet, and then you're done for everything.
Yeah, right, right.
Because did you see Patton Oswald's what was it called? What's it called when you are at a court or a legal hearing and you stall for time?
Oh, wait, was that in Parks and Recreation?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah. That was a phenomenal.
filibuster.
Yes, yeah, that was a phenomenal filibuster from Fat and Oswald. I believe.
There
I
was
thought it
actually
was about Star Wars
there
though. Or
was, but it was about
oh,
the
okay.
Infinite Gauntlet in Star Wars.
Oh, right, it was. Oh, yeah, yeah. That was a really great one.
So I mean, the actual episode is aired only showed a small portion of that, but there was actually an 8 minute span of him just going on nonstop that they put on YouTube. It's amazing. So, but yeah, it basically just goes into Infinite Gauntlet lets you cross multiverses that are unrelated, so Star Wars, Marvel, whatever, and Pokemon if you want to. Though, actually, so if you can get Marvel in here, then you can easily cross over any other IP that you get a hold of.
All
So,
right, we'll be in touch with the Marvel people tomorrow.
with Disney, actually, so good luck with
I know, I
that.
know.
Yeah. It's not like they have Disney Infinity or anything.
Right, exactly.
So this is so easy. No. Yeah. I'll check my paycheck anytime now. I'm the
Yeah.
idea man. Henry doesn't even have a position anymore. I'm the creative director now.
Henry has a very valuable position.
I don't know. We haven't seen him yet in a long, long time.
Yeah, I mean, he's been really busy. He pops in, he still pops in every once in a while to the community, but I mean, you may not see him as actively because it's Zach and I leading the streams, but I mean, he plays through all your stuff every week, and he and I talk all throughout the week about cool things that he's seeing and cool ideas. So he's as active as usual. He's just more kind of behind the scenes right now.
That reminds me. So why did he stop showing up on the Thursday live streams like after Mike started them up again? Does he not like you and Zach, or do you guys just have a bad body odor that he just can't stand?
I think it's the latter. We do have huge BO problems here at Team Dakota.
So here's the solution to that, and this is legit. Vinegar. Wash your clothes in vinegar, and also wash your underarms with vinegar, and then wash your
That,
clothes and take a shower.
that sounds horrible.
It is, but it gets rid of the BO, which is less makes it less horrible.
No, but I mean Henry was. I don't know. It's hard to really answer that question fully, but I mean I would say that he was really focused on getting the vision out there prior to launch, and now that we've launched, he's working on a lot of other things. Um, And so he just sort of has his focus elsewhere. Um, but even though he's not as directly in front of everyone each week, he's still here every day.
I don't know if I believe that, but I,
Well, he is basically 4 offices over from where I am right now, so he might actually even hear me yelling.
so when I was there, he didn't even have an office. He just kind of went into a vacant room and hung out.
Yeah, he currently has that set up still, a nice well, it's not really a vacant room. It's his office. It's his nice, but it's a nice little creative space where like a lot of people get together and they sort of just they talk through a lot of different things. But he's kind of the visionary who's really thinking through our storyline kind of moving forward in terms of Project Spark, in terms of Champions Quest stuff, in terms of really how we relate to um, other universes such as Conker.
And so, speaking of Henry, Henry has an IMDb page because he's been on at least two
Oh,
videos
oh yeah,
for Rare and for
that's funny. That's
Nintendo.
funny. Yeah, he has. Yeah, he also has a Wikipedia page.
Oh, I haven't checked the Wikipedia page yet, but I did see him on IMDb, which led me to the second of his videos, which
That's funny.
was rather amazing.
Yeah,
Um, I'm not sure what he was going for on the day that he knew that he was going in to film this. If he was thinking, I'm going to look cool today, or if I think I'm going to look cool 20 years from now, because this was like 20 years ago. So he was younger than me at that time. I think that would have made him like 20 or something. Anyway,
yeah,
it was interesting seeing him in mid 1990s fashion.
yeah. I mean, it's he did. Henry did work on Donkey Kong Country, which is I forget. Did I rant about Donkey Kong Country on a previous
I don't
thing?
think you did.
Oh, really? Because Donkey Kong Country is, if you do your homework on the video game industry and video game history, Donkey Kong Country is actually one of the most impressive feats ever to be done in video game history. And Donkey Kong Country is actually one of the it's the it actually led to the biggest leap forward in video game technology. Um,
With the graphics and stuff like that.
Yes, exactly. It basically had pretty much full 3D graphics in a 2D environment and was done on what? It was Super Nintendo, so
Hmm.
16-bit platform. Like all this accomplished on a 16-bit platform is phenomenal. And it's actually Rare went away basically for years and worked on that technology. And they what's the story behind it? I think it's they actually called the technology Rareware, and then Rare kind of actually took the name itself. So the technology they invented was going to be called Rareware, but they just kind of absolved it themselves. So it's really cool story, and it all was centered around Donkey Kong Country. So yeah, do some if you are really interested in kind of video game history. Do a lot of research around Donkey Kong Country because it was a defining moment in the video game landscape.
I actually remember watching a video on the complete history of video games. It was like one of those Netflix movies, and it went into pretty decent detail with Rare and about how they were actually having competing branches of the company, and the one that was like Donkey Kong Country, and then the other was like may have been Killer Instinct, I forget, but they were basically rivals trying to outdo each other, and as a result, that's when like things just started getting so great.
Yeah, I mean, they really did. Yeah, so I have like Donkey Kong Country. That's why it's in my own top 10 game list. Not just because of its mark for the video game industry, but when I was a kid, like I wasn't allowed to have a video game system until I was in high school, and I would go over to my friend's place all the time and play Donkey Kong Country with them. It was the biggest blast I ever had growing up.
Yeah, so Henry actually had his fingers in a lot of really awesome games. Like, um, wasn't he was on GoldenEye? He was on to some extent. See, I don't even know what extent he was like on these projects, but
I'm
Super.
not sure, but his Wikipedia page would tell you.
Yeah, yeah, and Super Punch Out. That was like one of my all-time favorites and stuff like that.
hmm
I mean, I remember at one point I said that I told him either through Twitter or something that I didn't like Super Mario 64, and he was like, "It was great up until you said you didn't like Super Mario 64." I think maybe in my blog post, and then I was like, "Oh, fine. Well, here's all the things you did that I do like. Does that make you feel better?" And he's like, "Yes." Yeah.
Yeah.
And Reese, I honestly haven't seen exactly what your question is, so I can't
Oh, he's talking
answer.
about so actually what Reese is talking about is there's some really cool stuff, which actually we were talking with the people who Reese linked to today. There are a few different teachers throughout the US that have started teaching Project Spark in their classroom and using it to help teach kids how to learn programming. And one of those is the Spark Academy, which is being run by a teacher in Australia. And what actually Reese linked to is the site that they have. And we are actually working directly with them. Another really cool thing that I don't think we've actually ever said this yet publicly,
I don't think so. No.
but we actually this semester partnered with the University of Alberta, and they're running a game design course in Project Spark, and they've put together a bunch of students, and their semester project is to build a phenomenal game inside of Project Spark.
So it would be
Sorry.
great if we could get their what's it called, the curriculum, just to post publicly and have people go at their own pace with it as well, if they're
Yeah,
willing to.
we're working on some stuff like that. For instance, the guys with Spark Academy, I owe them an email actually to work with them further on that. I'm also going to you're going to hear a lot more about the University of Alberta. We're talking with a professor. We're probably actually going to put up a blog post, just our discussion with them to give you guys more detail about the cool stuff happening there. And then we're probably going to showcase that level that they make at the end of the semester.
Just one level or a series?
No, they're all working on just one level together.
Oh wow,
Yeah. So you have a bunch of students, and they specifically put together a team of you have a sound design guy he's working his wizardry with Connect.
poor guy.
He said it's actually he's found it pretty easy so far.
Well, I mean, as far as like you're suddenly go to test mode, then some of the sounds don't work or something like that.
Yeah, well, we'll see. But so you have there's a sound design guy. There's like a general level design person. There's some effects people. So they have like a full team of people, a bunch of different skill sets who together can make a really comprehensive game.
So what kind of game are they making? Do you guys know?
No, and even if I did, I probably wouldn't want to spoil the surprise, but I actually don't know.
Because if it's a 3D action adventure game, just tell them to put it back in the toaster. It's not done yet.
So 3D action adventure games can be amazing. My favorite game right now is Dragon Age Inquisition, and it's an RPG, but it's also 3D action adventure. Really, if you kind of look at it on its surface,
If you force it into that perspective.
because I mean the control scheme is basically a third-person action adventure, but it has all the depth of an RPG. So it depends. It just depends on what you do with third-person action adventure. Third-person action adventure has become such a broad topic that I feel like there's a lot of good third-person action adventures and maybe not as fun ones, depending on your interests. Because there are some, no matter what, there any kind of third-person action adventure you'll find someone who loves it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to be sold on one in Spark because I've just played the same thing too many times. I mean, I know you guys have put a lot of work into combat, but it's just been there for 1.5 years, and I don't want to press X to attack anymore.
I
X X
wonder,
X X
yeah,
X X X X X.
it's an interesting thing to bring up because I do wonder if for instance we took another approach where the default was you made 2D side scrollers, and we kind of like built the defaults around that, and then you could make everything else. You would probably say the same about 2D side scrollers after playing them for a year. So it just no matter what, I think it depends on kind of the the game type that the engine focuses on. And with each engine similar to Project Spark, they kind of do focus on a game type while allowing you to build others.
Right. The difference is when you focus on 3D, it kind of limits what the 2D can do. Like a lot of the 2D mechanics would be focused on being able to attack and move independently, whereas in 3D action adventure, it doesn't really matter. Just make it look cool and flashy stuff everywhere, right? So that's why you have the lunge effect in Project Spark, as opposed to you don't have that the base attack in Legend of Zelda Link to the Past, for example. He just stands there and goes. Whoosh, 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 whoosh.
Yeah.
So that I don't know the exact term, but I want to say affordance. That standard mechanic is going to be more prevalent because of the base 3D structure of the game.
Yeah, and as Envil says, the reason why you see so many is because if you're just making third-person action adventure, we did set it up so that it takes you just minutes to make that kind of game. If you spend the more time you spend with Project Spark, the easier it is to make other game types.
Oh, I agree definitely. Will always be some types that take more effort than others to
Sure,
create. Like
sure, definitely.
um, it'd be nice to like on this note. It'd be nice to have more like tile based support, so you can have a grid based game as opposed to having to come up with a linked list in order to be able to do that sort of thing.
Hmm, interesting.
Just some support so you can make Minesweeper really quickly as opposed to having it having to set it up so that the tile knows the neighbor of the tile and all that stuff, which would be really complicated in Spark if you don't know how to make a linked list.
Hmm.
Bob Schmacky can do it. Uh, I'm not sure how many other people can.
Yeah. Jared from our team actually has a cool way he's done ordered lists as well. So we're going to work with him on writing that up. Right now, actually, we're working on Zach and Eric from our team. Eric is the guy who's basically kind of one of the fathers of code and Kodu.
Right.
They're working on a very detailed multi-brains tutorial that will hopefully make multi-brains kind of approachable for people who aren't programmers. So that's the first thing they're working on, but definitely linked lists is another thing we want to get to.
So Geo Howard brings up an idea of like having more interactable environments, such as like burning grass or something like that. In his example, but
Yeah, the thing I'd say about that, so you can currently do that if you put a bunch of like props, and just have those as grass.
but
So
prop
if you're
count.
talking, yeah, if you're talking about the grass scatter, the scatter is the stuff that if you are looking at if you're looking at terrain paint, the scatter is like the grasses that kind of move back and forth. Um, the scatter, we have found through testing that if you try and apply any code to that, it will just make your game run really poorly because there's so much scatter in your world. So it's not to say that we won't do that, but most likely we won't anytime soon allow you to directly manipulate that scatter and parse that scatter in game because it really does drop down your frame rate to barely moving at all while you're doing that. And we don't want to put it in until we would have to rebuild the system of how scatter is just generally processed before we allow you to kind of edit it in that way.
So the Pac-Man actually brings up a good point, and then of course some of the people already know the answer to this, is being able to save the progress of a game in Spark. It People don't know that you can actually do it if you manipulate the lineage, the not lineage, level linking system with the
Mhm.
campaign tile.
Um, I hadn't thought about that, about doing a default assembly. We will be doing actually a tutorial specifically on that, that will explain how you guys can make save systems. It's really great that a lot of people have figured it out on their own already, but it's something that will create some tutorials for.
So you'll actually highlight it and emphasize it so everybody can know.
Yeah, exactly. And we always want to do it in the most approachable way. So that's why, like, for instance, yesterday I spent an hour showing how to build an inventory system when actually the exact same method, Messcat's video is 6 minutes long. And I spent like an hour building that same 6 minute system. And that's because I spent like almost all that hour explaining each tile and all the different kind of
Right.
workarounds of it. So when we would approach it, we would approach it in a way where if you have just been messing around in Project Spark for a few hours, you would still understand how to do it.
Good deal. So you were actually emphasizing like the individual tiles, like the clamp tile, the inventory tile.
Hmm.
What else? What other tiles were there that were the important ones? Um, anyway, so if you want to watch that video again, you can go to their YouTube channel and watch
Yep.
that. Um,
And
and
Project Sparker, we will. Not sure if you missed it, but we will actually. Very next written tutorial will be on multi-brains, channels, and slots.
do we have an ETA on that?
Um, we really want to get it right, and there's actually going to be a lot of documentation in there that no one would expect. Like, there's going to be a lot of stuff in there where you'll look at this and you'll say, "Huh."
I didn't know we could do that.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot in there that you will say, "I didn't know we could do that."
So if Bob says that, then I'll be impressed.
He might have already known it. But yeah, I'll be impressed too if we're able to surface stuff he doesn't know. The really interesting thing that made it really cool for me is understanding push brains and how actually you could manipulate push brains when you're working with slots and channels. So that's something that will be covered there too, because like it'd be too hard to explain during this chat with like how you have layers and channels and slots because there's actually another thing on top of slots that we just don't have a code tile for, but it's important to know to understand kind of the hierarchy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So Kraken has a question. He wants to know if you have any advice for regular and new Twitch streamers.
Yeah, I've been, I do 3 of them a week, so I guess I know some things that are good with Twitch streams. It's always nice to have. I'm looking up right now because we have a huge whiteboard that's up, and it's actually filled out with all of the notes that I wrote up there for my stream yesterday. I put together kind of notes of everything I'm talking through. It's what to have kind of the best stream, especially if you're doing kind of an educational stream or a learning stream. Run through it once yourself. Just run through the concepts. Doesn't have to. You don't have to time it. You don't have to make sure it fits exactly in an hour. You don't have to actually write a script for what you're going to say, but at least run through everything you're going to run through there. And as you're running through it, kind of just make notes of the order of when you want to cover stuff, and write those notes up somewhere that you could look at while you're streaming, so that if you kind of lose your way, you know what your next point is going to be, like what the next thing is you're going to talk about.
And I would also suggest tweeting at Project Spark when you're going to be streaming, so that
Oh
they can.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, Project Spark is all about the retweets. So we if someone tweets something really cool, we love to retweet it.
So if you say I'm going to be streaming a tutorial on how to do blank at blank time on blank channel, just include an at Project Spark in there when you're saying I'm going to be tweeting a Project Spark tutorial. Just put at Project Spark tutorial, and then they'll see this is something that we want actual people to see. So we're going to go ahead and forward it. And I'm saying tutorial in here because I know Kraken is big on informing people of how to do things.
Hmm.
And with
Um,
Infrared, he also is a pretty awesome streamer where he just does things that we didn't think were possible, and he does them
yeah.
well.
Okay, so I will tell you a story about that actually. That just happened last week.
Story time.
Um, yes. So every single Wednesday we have this art show and tell meeting, and I show stuff that the community's been making. And the past 3 weeks, Infrared has always had a video that I've showed during this meeting. But last week I showed Rex to all the artists, and actually after that, it was shared around with all of Team Dakota, and a few people actually asked me, and that's why I posted on .org chat to Infrared. They asked me that they were really curious what the code was behind Infrared's mechanics, because some of the stuff they actually these are like our lead developers. They were like, I don't know how he did that. That's amazing. So they're actually our team is really eager whenever Infrared releases Rex, which is his amazing boss eye thing, to see how he's done certain things. Because especially for a few of them, I know the laser beams. They were really curious how he put together the mechanics for that, and a lot of other mechanics there. But they were insanely impressed by that. We showed the volcano level to them today, and they were crazy impressed by the volcano level, and couldn't wait to see more of that too. So yeah, actually, Infrared has kind of a fan base at Team Dakota waiting for Rex.
So here's my direct request to Infrared: release stuff. Like make finished stuff and release it. Because if you get hit by a bus tomorrow, all we have are these screenshots and videos of your things. We can't actually ever go in and see what you did. So in the meantime, don't get hit by any buses. That
Yeah,
goes
and
to everybody, but especially infrared.
I think I saw a question earlier from Woe from Lingo about making turning on and off visibility of certain body parts.
Yeah, that's a good question. I know
Yeah,
there's a way to turn off heads.
that I think we finally removed that. I could be wrong.
No!
Because that was a very old alpha thing that was I think we finally deprecated.
Bad.
But
Stop removing the
um,
fun things in Spark.
we have gotten that request a few times. Um, I would say we actually are uh, we know basically we have our set of features that we are working on from now till basically April. We have a lot of features that we've kind of set from now till April.
Well, that's not too bad.
But
That's only a few months.
yeah, I mean, we obviously have a lot of stuff on the table that we are just now tinkering around with priority wise. So that's I mean that's kind of one of the I'd say lower priority on the list of a bunch of other stuff we want to work on, but that is on the list of requests we've gotten from people.
So,
So,
what's on the to do list for the next 2 months?
oh, you will see. I don't want to give it away, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff we're working on. Of course, because we said it so many times, you will see at some point in the future a really nice new system that we're working on for first time user experience. That's one of the biggest things that we're working on. So that is I will say that is one of the features that we do have planned between now and April.
So, to Pac Man, brings up a point of it's easier to start a game than it is to finish it. And that's very true.
Yes.
And I strongly recommend you watch the segment, the series of videos that Extra Credits did a few weeks back on making your first game, so you can set explicit goals and timelines and stuff like that, so you can get something done and progressed, and then eventually finished. Even if it's not finished, that it can be shipped out, so you can say, "I'm done with it. I don't need to go back to it unless I want to." So all the
Yeah.
effort you did can actually not be in vain.
Yeah. I I mean that's a really great thing to follow. For instance, my very first level was a very simple concept that I knew I could accomplish in 3 weeks. This is my very first level I published in Project Spark, which is simply there. I put 80 humans on the map. You were a zombie, and you had to punch those 80 humans and turn them all into zombies. I actually think there were over 100, but anyways, some amount of humans. They're all on the map, and you would punch them. They'd slowly join your team, and then you'd face bigger and bigger obstacles, and it was sort of put in a semi maze format. But I was able to make it all in I think 3 4 weeks, and I knew from the outset it was a very small scope and it was very accomplishable, and so I accomplished it, and I felt good about myself being able to accomplish that. And then for next game, I spent uh, a month and a half working on that. I made the scale a bit higher. I wanted to use the same concept because I wasn't great at mechanics at the time. So it was the same concept of you're a zombie, you punch people and turn them into zombies, but I wanted to make it more open world. So I made a much bigger map. I made it more of a sandbox experience where you could go around and punch kind of different people on the island. Because it's called Zombie Punch, it's comedy. But
Yeah,
um,
of course.
yeah, but I'm actually finally going back. I've showed a bit of it on stream of Zombie Punch 3, which was actually before I even heard about Project Spark. I always had this idea of this like randomly generated world where your goal was just to turn everyone into a zombie. I thought that would be the coolest thing ever. Like, so every time you play, you have a fully different experience. It becomes this like fun thing of you basically every time you have different strategies of how to face people. So that initial concept is what I'm finally working on with this third version of Zombie Punch, which I'm getting there. I'm pretty close. I have the randomly generated city part done. Now I actually have to make all like the mechanics to actually make it fun.
Well, since I can assure you nobody actually cares, we're going to move on to the next question. Teasing. Project Sparker asked a question that I thought was pretty interesting. Why does paint start to bleed and mix into other paint textures when it's at 100% intensity?
Um,
As opposed to being able to have a stark contrast between two paints.
If you really so it should be if both paints are if you paint both set at 100% opacity, you should have very little bleed. If you want absolutely zero bleed whatsoever, the best thing to do is make your terrain cubified, and then when you paint, all paint will be in exact squares. So all paint you place down will only be in square format. So
That's
it'll
good if you
only
want actually straight lines of the terrain, but you don't
Mhm.
get the curved paths if you need something like that.
I mean, if you have like all paints in your world are 100% intensity, then you should have very, very little bleed. There might still be some bleed, but you should have very little.
I'll have to look at that
Um,
because I haven't been experiencing too much 100% intensity bleed, but I do know how to manipulate the system to bleed as much as possible.
sure, yeah, yeah. But yes, I mean there will be bleed just based on how we set up the system. But it should be very minor. It should be very minor when you have everything at 100%.
Well, I know this question has been asked before, but and answered before as well. But since this is the first one going to YouTube, I'll ask it again. Thoughts on modern props being eventually added to Spark? I believe you're the actual one who answered this too.
Did I? I don't even actually remember what I said, but yeah, it's. I mean, it's. I think I said earlier that there's a lot of themes we're exploring in the future, and that for sure is one of them. That's not to say that that's the next thing that we're going to be focusing on, but there's a lot of themes. I mean, we have a fantasy theme, we have a sci-fi theme, and we have a lot of other things in the works that we're really thinking through. So yeah, that's it's definitely something we're looking at.
Okay. So and everybody, of course, has different priorities as far as what they want to use as far as content
Right.
goes. So personally, myself, I don't care about modern at all. It just looks boring to me. Whereas I might be able to see myself using some of the props from this into the sci-fi if I can manipulate them enough. But in general, I'm not interested in AK-47. I'm not interested in a handgun. I'm not interested in a tank or a brick building, that sort of thing. That just seems boring. I can go outside and look at that. That's not what I want in my game. Um, there was a question here. So they were asking about the attaching to FirePoint. Um,
Oh yeah, with the squirrel where attaching their fire point is like the best way to have an object track with its head.
and is that designed to drive them nuts?
I like the pun there. We that was so the squirrel and those other animals were based on an older character rig. And so that was part of the intention with that older character rig. But once we did shuffling around of sockets and naming stuff, it might sound a bit nuts now, but it's something that made sense with that old character rig, and it's probably more of just kind of a naming thing when we had to switch over the socket names and what that corresponded to just position wise rather than skeleton wise, if that makes sense.
It'd be interesting to see what Spark Squirrel 2.0 will look like if we ever get him. And I'm not talking about Conker. I'm talking about like a legit critter squirrel that we can actually make attachments with and stuff like that.
Well, hey, you said you did mention Conker, but I'm sure he would have things whenever he came.
Yes, but um, that's a different squirrel. That's not the iconic Spark Squirrel, right?
Well, he's a different iconic squirrel.
Yes, he has his own IP. He has his whole universe. He has his whole fan base, and they won't stop asking questions. Well, I'm going to say one question: when's Conker coming, or is Conker in the game yet? That's their question. Um, and basically, to those users who do love Conker, start using Spark now, as soon as possible. Don't wait for him to be released, because then you will have no time in advance that you'll actually know how to use code. You won't know how to program very much when you start, and you'll be able to make 3D action adventure Conker games, but you won't be able to make any other Conker games. So start using Spark now. Learn in advance, then be able to. You could even start making your own Conker game right now, and then later add him in.
By the way, has anyone played through and actually successfully beaten RT?
I saw somebody get close and then die at the very end.
Okay, has anyone in chat played RT in Project Spark and gotten to the good ending. Well, that'll be something where there's a delay, so we can talk about other things. Because I saw someone with a question about Glacier Blade and a few other items. Those items those were pre-order bonuses that we did with our partners in different countries with different stores, and it's a great experience to have with those partners, and it will be something that you will see. Will re-expose in the future in Project Spark.
Re-expose, interesting. Okay. Um, so people are thinking there is an ending with Conker based on the relevance
Uh,
of the conversation.
yeah, so everybody who has played through RT but never got to the good ending, you need to get to the good ending because I actually,
Well, what constitutes a good ending versus the bad ending? Is it
well,
just getting past
the
the
one
end?
where you don't die in a fire.
Okay.
That's the bad ending. The bad ending is where you die in a fire. If you don't die in a fire, then that's a good ending. Um, Yeah, it was insanely shocking, and it was actually, for some reason, it's something that like only a few people have found and made some buzz about. So props to Spawn 9 for making the most interesting and amazing ending to a game. I don't want to say much more about that. You can probably think that there might be something to do with Conquer because of the relevance of this, but it's something that if you haven't played through RT and gotten to the finale, play through it. And if you really don't want to play through that amazing level again, then there are plenty of Let's Play videos. But Spawn 9 is a genius. That's what I'll say.
All right, so we're almost out of time. Is there anything you want to pitch as far as what's coming tomorrow or Friday or this weekend or whatever?
We will have a stream tomorrow where we will show everything. And hey, Jeff,
Hey, how's everything going?
good.
Is that,
So we have Jeff Guy just quickly stopping in.
tell him to scoot over a little bit because he's not on camera.
There we go.
Oh, hey Jeff, that's Jeff Gee, not Jeff Guy.
Oh wait, he can't hear you guys.
Oh
Hold on.
yes.
Okay.
So we might have a little bit of an echo. But
That's okay.
so hey
Yeah.
Jeff, how's it going?
It's going well. How'd the cast go?
It's still going.
All right.
Yep.
We'll
So
make sure everything's going well.
yeah, we wanted to get you on as a guest here sometime, but Brian never
I'll be
did.
popping in more in the future now that things are a little less crazy.
Yeah.
So my
Yeah,
understanding
definitely.
is that if you're away from the computer and things go down, they're down forever.
Yeah. If you guys check, I think things probably went down in the last 60 seconds because you stepped away.
Yeah, there's a good chance of that. No, it's a good sign that you guys were able to stay connected through the cast. I'm looking into an issue right now. Doesn't look too critical, but just staying on top of things. So wanted to
Yeah.
make sure the cast's going well.
So for those in the community who don't know, Jeff is basically our guy who, when anything happens with services, he jumps on top of it and comes to the rescue and calls up all different departments in Microsoft to get things back on as soon as possible. And with the most recent last outage lasted for only 8 minutes because of the fast acting, which is,
Yeah.
I mean, you never want an outage, but 8 minutes isn't.
That was
too
pretty
bad.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm the guy that many people don't like to get a call from.
Yeah.
So, yep, I handle services, and then I'm a producer for a couple new game features that are coming down the pipe.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Like
Some stuff we might announce tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, tomorrow.
Yeah.
During the stream or during the Spray Spark?
In a lot of places. Stream will be showing something really cool during the stream.
You can just see Jeff. It is really hard. I'm hearing myself echo twice. But you can see Jeff grin from ear to ear, like he knows and we don't.
It is kind of fun to
Well, I was the
know.
producer for the feature, so I better know.
I hope.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. It's one of those features where when you hear about it, it's not maybe something you'd get excited about, but when you get hands-on with it, it's pretty cool.
It's really
I,
cool.
I, I can't think of any negatives to having it in our game. I'm really happy about it. So
Yeah.
So one question I have to ask Jeff while he's here is, we were asking this to all the Team Dakota as they came in, but like, what is your background? Like, how did you get into video game development, and how did you get into Project Spark, especially?
That's a good question. So I've been making games and game consoles for about 11 or 12 years now. I actually started really early on as a developer, a C-sharp developer, and then I jumped into test, working on some really early games like some of the, just before the 360 went live, some of the Xbox original games. And then I actually worked for the shell and platform team, is what they're called at the time, but it's basically the kernel for the Xbox 360. Worked on the backwards compatibility feature for the 360, games on demand, stuff like that. And then made a return to MGS as a test lead. Worked on Fable 3 and Halo 4, a couple other titles. And then it was actually owning Forge for multiplayer 4, or Halo 4, excuse me, Forge and multiplayer for Halo 4 that got me noticed for Project Spark. Just because of the similarities between the vision for Spark and Forge. So somebody told me about this project. I got really excited about it and jumped on it quick. And I started out as the services test engineer, and then transitioned into a producer slash service operational role.
That's right. That happened how long ago?
It's been about 6 months
6 months? Yeah,
since
that's
I
right.
became a producer. Yeah.
That's cool.
I was a producer for 2 years on the Xbox 360 console itself, for the games on demand and arcade features as well.
Oh, that's really cool. So, how did you transition from what you're doing in civilian life to game development?
Oddly enough, I was managing a software, etc., when they used to exist. And a lot of producers and game designers and artists would come through because it was I think it was in Bellevue, the Bellevue Square Mall. I like just moved here from LA. I was 19, and I asked every producer and game designer that came in how they got where they were, and then finally it was actually the producer for the original Fable, who kind of got sick of my questions, handed me his card, and brought me in.
So annoy them is basically how you got in.
Yeah, that's just asking a lot of questions, and one thing I noticed was asking for a job
Doesn't work.
doesn't work. Asking someone to tell you their story and then looking for similarities between their story and the story you could build for yourself, that's really where I think you can inspire someone to kind of sponsor you or bring you into the industry. It's a lot easier nowadays than it was 12 years ago, though. There's a lot of really cool college programs for game design. There's, test as a discipline is really much more welcoming to people that are in college or don't have college experience. So.
Sure. Actually, one piece of job searching advice that I was given when I was unemployed after my graduate school. I was unemployed for 8 months and had to go through a job search thing, and I had to go to a career counselor that was actually a friend of my Nana's. But anyway, his advice was, it boiled down to, don't ask for a job because they'll just put up a wall and then look for all the ways that you don't measure up to it.
Yeah.
But if you were to ask them for their opinion on what your potential was, what areas you should look into, they might be more amiable to consider you for a position that might be open or reference you to somebody who they know.
Absolutely. I mean, now, just in the past 5 or 6 years, having conversations on the other side of the fence, I see how they felt when I posed those questions, right? Asking for something is kind of asking to be given something, and you're trying to prove like it's something you deserve, maybe, as opposed to saying, I'm really passionate about doing this. I'm really passionate about being in games, and this is the role I want to fill, and I want to forge my way into that. And what is the path for me? And trying to understand what that story is for yourself. You know, you just piece information together from others. Luckily, I mean, the internet's a much more robust place than it was back then, so the information's, you know, a bit more available. Um, but yeah, I totally agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
So, one last question, unless you want to stay and ask and answer more. Um, so, what you know what's coming in Project Spark? So, what you can talk about are you most excited about, or even in general terms, if you can't talk about specifics?
So, um, everyone knows the Conker's coming.
What?
No win.
Yeah, they don't know when, but they know the Conker's coming. Um, I love Conker. I've worked with Rare quite a bit. I have a lot of close friends that were directors at Rare. Um, I will say that we have shown some of the work that we've done to people that have worked on Conker in the past, and they were blown away. They're excited.
All
Uh,
right.
so, you know, I can't talk specifics or say who, you know, was there, but I am crazy excited about Conker. Um, I think it's going to do nothing but good things for our game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we're doing it right. And outside of Conker, um, what I will say is that we pay very, very close attention to what you guys want, what the community wants in our
Lizard
game.
men.
And
Moose really wants Lizard Man. We don't listen to
um,
what he wants.
and outside of content, talking about the game features, because I don't personally work on content, I work
Right.
on, you know, the new features in the game. I can say that, you know, we're trying to focus on things that are just going to continue to make things better. It's not just about, you know, polishing things up here and there. We want to keep expanding on the game, stay committed to the game, and that means improving in areas that we think is gonna, you know, please those that love the game and bring the right people into our game that don't know about it yet.
So things like UI editor, music editor, animation studio, um, combat, different combat animations. What else? Things that are being read off in chat. Uh, Sleeping, laying down, that sort of thing. That's a little more random, but I think the UI editor and music editor are the things that I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah. Um,
Along with a code debugger and code comments, so we can actually tell people what our code is doing.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, those, we've heard those, and those are, I can't say whether or not we're doing them,
You
or
are.
when, but yeah, it's tough because I can't speak to the specifics, but
You can. You'll just get fired.
I'll just get by again. So, but I think you guys will be like surprised and pretty stoked about the features that are coming down the pipe, and we have long-term plans to keep improving this game and this experience. So, you know, if a patch lands and you see a feature, that might not be the feature for you. That might not be the one you requested. But you might find that it actually improves your overall experience in the game regardless. And it doesn't mean that we're not bringing in the thing that you're really hungry for. We're trying to make the right decisions at the right times.
Well, I don't want you to do that. I want you to do exactly what I do want you to do exactly when I want you to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the guy who's supposed to be the producer. You guys are giving Project Arc to me. I'm supposed to do this.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, even as a producer, there's things that I want. You know, there's things that I specifically want to see in our game for me as a player, for me as a creator, and for me just because I know a lot of you guys personally, and a lot of you just from talking to you guys online, and I want to make sure that, you know, you guys get what you want, what you need to get the most out of the game. Um, but ultimately it's, we do have to make the right decisions, which is driven by a lot of different factors. Um, but I will say, like, the thing I'm most proud about is that everyone in this studio, like, they're gamers, they care about quality, they care about Spark being awesome more than anything else.
So, how do you explain sounds? No, I'm kidding.
No, we have a really, I mean, anyone who's used the game, you guys know better than anyone that this thing is a complex beast. Um, I've been on this thing for about 3 years now, longer than any game I've ever worked on. And there's a reason for that, which is that it is super unique, and it is growing, and it is changing, um,
And it's a lot harder to get fired from as a full-time employee.
well, I can't comment on it. But no, if I wasn't as excited as I am about the conversations we're having and the things that we have planned, I wouldn't be in it for the long haul, but I am. So I hope that kind of just, eases a bit of the concern, if exists, about, what things are coming down the pipe.
Well, then there's fear of Spark dying in the next 2 months if it doesn't get more people to buy stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's on
There-
the forums.
I've heard that conversation happen, and I think there was some miscommunication and some misinformation that spread as a result.
Assumptions.
Right.
That's not the conversation that we're having here. The conversation that we're having is, in a couple months, we will look at the work that we've done, and we will look at the improvements that we've made, and we'll determine if we're making the right choices. And if we feel like we're not providing the right experiences and we need to shift focus to other areas in the game, but be it content or features, we adjust. And that's really what it's about. It's not about, oh, we're not making as much money as we'd like, so it's time to cut our losses and leave. It's about, are we making the best choices for the future of the game? And those are long-term discussions.
Yeah, I also think the misconception came from the fact that it wasn't like this. The launch of Project Spark in October wasn't this huge mega experience of like millions of people coming in, and that was designed to be that way. We didn't want it to be open the floodgates really, because it's very different, especially when you're looking at the gaming community. You have a need to, with something like this, to start small and grow bigger. You have a need to get people familiar with it, continue to tweak it, get to the point where creators have this kind of free flow of amazing stuff they're putting out, and then players continue to come in and see more and more value. And we're really starting to see that shift in general. I mean, I can say that actually the amount of play time people are spending in Project Spark is right up there, pretty much neck and neck now with the amount of create time people have in Project Spark. So it's getting to the point now where there's a lot of stuff is getting so good, a lot of people are coming in and just playing stuff. And if we had spent kind of every single muscle towards pushing a huge bang at the beginning, we wouldn't have gotten that. We wouldn't have gotten anywhere near that, because the community has just been evolving so much over the past few months.
Yeah, I can speak a little more to that too. When we had to make a lot of tough decisions early on about what we wanted to get out of our beta. If you look at things from a business perspective, the argument can be made that, if you want to make the most money, and if you want instant returns, you put a $60 disc on the shelf. You close your beta a couple months before it ships to build hype for the game. But that's not why we made this game. And we all feel really strongly about that, and we fight hard for those beliefs. And we're really lucky that the leadership team for this project is aligned with us in that. The decision for us was clear, which was it's important that the beta keeps running, and it's important that people don't lose their work. and that we just keep building the best experience possible. We keep improving on the product, and we apply a business model that makes sense and is fair and enables us to keep improving it. But yeah, just the bottom line was what was most important to us was that the vision for the game and the kind of the requests that we were hearing from people at trade shows and online, um, that's what we want to deliver on. And so that's what inspired us. That's what we stuck with. And I'm happy we did. So I've worked on AAA titles where they shit. They do big, but I didn't get to stay with those titles for years and continue to improve them. And I always am stuck thinking about, I wish we could have done this. I wish we could have added that. And we get to do that with this game, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's
Right.
true.
So other games will have like a sprint up to the finish, which is the release actually, and just get as much money as they can there, and then not worry about anything else. Or they'll
Right.
have a skeleton crew on to do patches and updates, and maybe a team to sell more DLC. But with Spark, you guys are continuously developing with your full team,
Yep. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So,
so you guys
Uh,
are in for the long haul.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, I was actually last week. I obviously won't say what it was, but I was talking about
No, do
stuff.
tell.
I was talking about stuff for 2016, like planning out a few things there. So yes, we already have. I mean, I think Henry once said that there was a 5-year plan for Project Spark. There's so many. There's a huge plan of stuff.
Yeah. I'm looking at my plan for the features I'll be working on over the next long period of time, and there's things that we talked and joked about getting into this game that are now going to be realized. There's, I know it's a big tease, and I
Yeah, a little
apologize for that.
stuff. It's coming. It's good
But
stuff.
I mean, I was stunned, like holy crap, we're really finally gonna do that, like with something we've joked about, like that's such a tough problem to solve, but we have the right people here to solve it, and we care deeply about it. So I mean, it's there's gonna be like a tsunami of amazing features that start to land with this game. Like I really believe strongly that this thing is gonna just be amazing. Um, and the numbers I'm not really thinking about. I'm thinking about making the best game possible, and everyone I'm working with is thinking the same thing, which is a great environment to work in.
So I'm trying to think of what the features tsunami might be, because we've had a little bit of a drought, except for the what's it called, the artist feature pack, and before that the massive world builder pack. But there was a big lapse in between those as well. So I'm trying to figure what's the next big thing, because prior to that was multiplayer, and that was released on release day.
I'll
Right.
say that over the next couple patches, you should be able to get an idea for kind of the direction we're going initially.
You mean
Um,
updates, by the way?
yeah, and that I'd say over the next like 3 to 5 months, especially, probably more so in the middle of that time frame, you'll really see that uh, we're investing in big areas of the game. We're investing in areas of the game that we didn't know that we'd ever be able to come back and revisit. Um, you know, Dreams that we had for things that we could do with this game that we had to shelve, that we're now taking off the shelf and not just considering but acting on. Um, and I've got to cut because I got to go make sure that
Yeah.
services
Yeah,
are
yeah.
going well. But I'll try to jump in on these more, and I love answering questions. So yeah, don't hesitate to ask them. I love chatting about the game. Love chatting about game development. So
Yep.
it's great talking with you
Yeah,
guys.
we'd love to
And
have you
quick-
more often.
Yeah, quick question in chat. Is everyone still online? Just give a thumbs up in chat that you're still online.
Well, let me look.
I think that's probably Jeff's question when he came
Yeah,
when he was
if I
coming
need
here.
to sprint back to my desk, or if I can, have a dip in my step on the way.
Yeah, now that he's been 20 minutes away, things might be on fire.
It's very possible. So let me load it up. It's loading. Anyway, yeah, we'd love to have you as frequently as you'd like to have me on. that goes out to everybody on Team Dakota, but especially you, because I know you're a really cool guy. We've been hanging out a few times. I mean, it's nice to meet you. Um,
Yeah. Cool. Everyone's able to connect.
That's great
And Project
news.
Spark is not going broke.
No, we're not.
No, yep, we're
Um,
good.
yeah, we're part of Microsoft Game Studios, which is that's a big ship, and
well, there actually was a big thing that happened like a few days ago. I know you probably can't speak to it, or have to run away before we finish talking about it. But Sony Online Entertainment was actually sold to a private firm who has
Yeah,
since laid off like 40% of their staff.
sure. And that's Sony Online Entertainment.
It used to be. Now they're Daybreak Games, and they're
Right.
awful. No, I'm kidding. Some of the people there are still great, but they fired a lot of really nice people and some friends of
Yeah.
family and some family of friends. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll leave you with this the Project Spark going broke thing. I'll say this. I think the work that we've done in the past and the decisions that we've made show that our priorities are delivering the best game possible. Um, Not looking at metrics and things that nature, and I certainly can't discuss those. Um, but that's still our focus. That's still our priority going forward. So, and again, we're really lucky that our leadership is aligned with that and supportive of that. Whether we're insanely successful or not successful, the bottom line is that, this is a breakthrough visionary product, and the things that we want aren't measured in dollars, right? They're measured in the quality of the gaming experience and the games that can be made and how happy our community is. And as long as that stays the case within the studio, I think we'll continue to attract talent that we need to execute on that plan. So a little bit of producer jargon in there, but you get what I'm saying.
Oh, absolutely.
So, all right. Thanks again, folks.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, so we're gonna sign off with that. Uh,
Thanks.
Jeff just dropped the mic and walked off, which is cool. Um,
Well, I mean, it's important. It's really important to
make sure the systems don't go down. Yeah.
Exactly.
Olympus has fallen. No.
Mm.
All right. Well, we're about 30 minutes over, and that's pretty cool because that was a pretty cool cameo.
Yeah,
And
you might just run into those things when you are streaming from the Team Dakota offices.
yeah, because well, that office where you guys stream is actually a little corner out of the way, um, but yeah, if that ever happens again, I'll be very happy.
I know because I'm very boring. Yeah,
But
but
they did pass along, like, chat was full of saying thank you to Jeff for spending the time, so I know he was very appreciated.
mhm.
And so with that, I know that you guys are streaming tomorrow at 3 p.m. Pacific.
Yes, it's
It,
something that definitely everyone here, if you can make it, you will want to see that for a cool, unexpected thing. It's not the thing we're talking about. It's not a huge thing. I will say it's not Conker, but it's a really cool, unexpected thing that we're gonna talk about and then show on stream.
and then after that so Mescad does bring up you posted a blog on Stevo.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, read that, check that out. What we're gonna be doing. We're starting kind of a long form series of. It's not gonna be necessarily every week, but every once in a while, we are going to start posting up blog posts where we interview different Team Dakota team member.
Yeah, it'd be
Um,
cool if we could actually have them on the SparkCast just briefly, so, like Jeff was, like maybe like 10 minutes, just for them to say hi and give a face and voice behind what that's
yeah,
going on.
I guess the hard thing is this is right at the end of the day for us, and the end of the day is like a super sprint with
Okay.
a lot of things
Sure.
sometimes, especially with like a lot of people need to kind of wrap things up before they head out. So it's always
No,
gonna
no.
be
Think about me. Think about me in my show. No, I'm kidding.
yeah, it's always gonna be a bit harder. And I have this button that's hiding chat for me, so I can't see Messcat's question about TD offices fully.
Wait, that was
But
he was one who brought the news post, which was Stevo.
oh yeah, yeah. But yeah, we have a post. The first one is about Stevo, our amazing combat designer. Cool factoid about him is he actually used to compete in Tekken championships or Tekken tournaments and win them.
I'll take
Um,
him on.
Yeah, we'll see if you
As long as
can.
it's only, what was the one I was good at? I think I was good at Tekken 5 or Tekken 4, one of the two.
Yeah, but he's one of our many awesome team members, and so we're just going to be posting just kind of perspectives from different team members because we are I know we say this all the time, but we are a small team, and that means that you over the course of time, as I continue to post this, we might eventually get to the point where you'll pretty much meet the full team. It'll take probably it'll take more than a year, but we'll get there.
Well, there's 52 weeks in a year, so if you guys post one per week, then if your team is roughly 52, then it'll take a year.
Yeah, that's true, but it probably won't be one per week. But yeah, I mean, it's something where like everybody on the team, because we've gotten to this like perfect point. So we ramped up a tiny bit right around launch just to take care of getting things finalized down for launch, and now we're back to the same kind of size we were for a lot of beta. And the team members we have though, we've I say we, even though I've only been here for a few months,
You're a
but
newbie.
a lot of them have they've been working so laser focused on Spark that they're just producing phenomenal things. Like if you work in one game for so long, you start making phenomenal things. And that's kind of what Jeff was talking about and alluding to is like because people spend so much time on Spark, they're understanding it so well that they can go back and say, I think we can do that thing finally.
Friday, is there going to be a Friday stream this week?
Yes, there will be. There will not be next week, but there will be this week.
So this week on Fridays, you guys go through UGC with the senior or just general Team Dakota members and play
Mhm.
what's going to be featured this week?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we'll be going through that. And I actually think we might have, I don't know, we might have some fun because starting tomorrow we are going to start featuring, just alongside the Academy Awards, we're going to start featuring all movies in our feature feed because it's pretty amazing how many movies people made in Project Spark.
Right, and you're going to be showing off my the interview, right?
No, that's not a movie. That one is you have to press a button to have a
Yeah,
thing.
it's an interactive movie.
I wouldn't identify that as a movie.
You're a horrible person, and we're going to end on that. All right, so thanks, Brian, for joining us, and pass along our thanks to Jeff. It was awesome to have him. He's an awesome guy in general, and
Yep.
as we went through with earlier, awesome now means good.
Exactly.
All
All
right.
right. Thanks, everyone.
Oh, one other note before we go cut off. Instant Kafka is going to stream after this. He's going to try to remake a app game that's selling like wildfire at the moment inside of Spark.
Cool.
So stay tuned to that. And I believe Zach will be with us next week unless something comes up, in which case Brian will be back. So,
Mhm.
and if anybody would like to join us on next week's SparkCast as a community guest, get in touch with me and we'll make that happen. All right,
Yep.
so thanks everyone. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the official Team Dakota stream, and I mean, again, I'll be here hanging out watching Instant Kafka stream. All right, night guys. Thanks, Brian. Thanks,
Thanks.
Jeff.